Yes, what's happening, people? And welcome back to GavGoesIn. Guys, big up yourselves for coming through each and every time, and as always, when you come through, make sure you smash that like button. Obviously, help the channel to grow. And again, sub to the channel. Sub to the channel, guys. If you're enjoying the content, I'm here every day, sometimes twice, I would love to do it, if I could all day, but obviously that's not really possible. But as I said, yeah, I'm here live most days, guys, giving you guys content. Big up to Gamer, big up to Jude Fenwick, big up to Lumi Rain. Yeah, big up, guys, each and every time. I can see Lumi's already put something in the chat. Obviously, a certain poll that I done today. So if you guys want to give that a check when you're ready, and let me know what you think, your results. Who do you think? I'm not going to spoil it, so I'll let you guys obviously give it a check anyway, But guys, listen, we're going to talk about, I think it's quite fair to say two of the biggest superstars in world football right now. I see the news yesterday that broke, and I do think it is confirmed news as well, that a certain Kylian Mbappe has now taken the vacant number 10 shirt from which obviously was held by Luka Modric. So he's now in the new number 10 at Real Madrid. To be honest with you, I have to say I'm quite happy, really, because, well, I say I'm happy. I don't like seeing number 9 on Mbappe's back, to be honest with you. Like, Mbappe's not a number 9. He's far from a number 9 type of striker. And obviously he does wear 10 for France, so it was quite obvious once Modric went that he would be taking that number 10 shirt. And obviously in the same season, as we know, Ansu Fati went to Monaco, and number 10 was vacant, which is now in the hands of, and rightfully so, Lamine Yamal. So you've got two of the biggest clubs in the world in Barcelona and Real Madrid, two of the biggest superstars in the world in Lamine Yamal and Kylian Mbappe. And now they're both wearing number 10 shirts. Again, if we look at Barcelona, the history of Barcelona, the number 10s, it's just littered with greatness, really. You look at the likes of Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Maradona, obviously Messi, Fati, now Yamal. So you look at the number 10s that they've had. Big up to Barbara Joseph as well. Again, number 10s that they've had, and now it's in the hands of, for me, someone that is definitely going to go down as one of the greats of the game, providing he does stay clear of injury, But yeah, so guys, let me know what you think about, obviously I'm going to have my say on it. And then again, in the chat, I will get back to each and every one of you that does put your comments in the live chat. Louis Rain said something there, which, again, guys, I will get back to you. But I'm just going to just have my say on both players and where I see both of their careers going, in a sense, I think if we start off with Lamine Yamal, I've spoken about Lamine Yamal plenty of times, if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time. And for me, this is a generational player. There's no doubt in my mind that we are looking at, one of the best players in the world, even at the young age of 17. As I keep mentioning, you tell me a player from recent years, if ever, that is a crucial player, star player for both club and country. Like, he is the go-to man for both club and country, and to be that at 17, and he was that at 16, again, is unheard of, and as I said, there's no doubt in my mind that Lamine Yamal is definitely going to be the star of the future, As I said, what I say about Lamine Yamal, for me, in terms of his mentality, and his calmness, for someone of that age, again, it's unheard of, because players of that age, you're looking at the inexperience of them. You're looking at bound to happen. They're still a kid. The guy is only 17 years of age, still doing his studies. And the one thing that that I've noticed about Yamal is that it's his decision making for me. His decision making is nothing short of, it's perfect. I would say, in terms of, he always makes the right pass or chooses the right pass. He knows when to shoot. He knows when to dribble. And then again, coming through La Masia, he knows when to keep it simple. And as I said, players of that age, you will see them more times than not making the wrong decisions, as they should, because they're obviously just coming through the system. And obviously, yeah, you're bound to just, give them time to make the mistakes, and then as they get older, these things will be ironed out. But Yamal has that already at that age, which is scary, because if you look at some of the more experienced players around world football, you know, these guys are still making the same mistakes in terms of, decision making. And with Yamal's just, yeah, he's ice cool in front of goal. As I said, his chance creation, is up there with the best. And as I said, he's just someone for me that is just primed to go to the next level. There's no doubt in my mind, and you know, number 10 now for Barcelona. I'd expect him to get the number 10 for Spain moving forwards. I think number 10 is in the hands of Danny Olmo. Big up to Crawley Eagle for coming back on again. So yeah, it's in the hands of Danny Olmo right now. But I think, yeah, you're gonna see Yamal have that 10 shirt for Spain very soon, I think, as well. And as I said, I'm a massive fan of him. For me, very reminiscent of Messi and Neymar. I think he's more Neymar than he is Messi. I think the comparisons with Messi is that obviously he's left-footed, playing from the right. And I think as Yamal gets a lot more older, more experienced, don't be surprised if you see Yamal playing as a 10, because I think he can play more in field. But I think where the space is, I think he's suited to playing from that position. And I think, again, with the comparisons to Messi, Yamal's not someone that just does step over after step over. He's someone that uses ball manipulation, body swerves to get past his opponent. And again, he's more of a creator than he is a scorer, right weight of pass. And then obviously he's got the arrogance of Neymar when he's on the ball, in terms of just being able to just take on his opponent at every opportunity. So as I said, I keep saying it, guys, someone of that age shouldn't be doing what he's doing, because he's that talented, at that age. He can't help but not go on and be one of the best players. I'm gonna say best player of his generation, but I'm gonna go one step further. Providing he stays clear of injury, I think we are looking at one of the greats of the game for me. And a lot of people might say, that might be too early to say, but not for me. I think he's someone that is primed to go on and do his dirt going forward, man. Because players like that don't come around so often. And as I said, yeah, I don't see no one really of his age group that is even close to him. As I said, he's a top player, man, and already at that age of 17. Big up to Daniela as well. So yeah, as I said, guys, for me, there's no doubt in my mind, that you're looking at one of the greats now and one of the greats of the future. So and again, guys, I see him season by season. I see him getting better and better. I think. Do I think Yamal has the capabilities of scoring 40 to 50 goals in a season? I'm not so sure, and not because he can't do that. It's because Yamal's more of a creator than he is a goal scorer. And what I would say is that if he is someone, that keeps level headed, keeps going the way that many expect, then as I said, there's no limit to his ability, to his potential, But I think in terms of the goal scoring, I think he's, as I said, I think he's more someone that is going to be more creative than he is going to be a goal scorer. again, things could change, because as he gets more experienced, he gets more confident. You're gonna see him be more or less the leader of the team. You know, and then obviously it might be a case now where, because if you look at Messi, for instance, Messi came into Barcelona, and Messi wasn't really a goal scorer. He was more someone that would get his goals, but was more of a creator. And you can tell that Messi was destined to be, one of the greats. And look at his career, how it's gone. I think what happened with Messi is that he got more responsibility, and again, it was a masterstroke from Pep to move him as a false nine. And again, this is where his goal scoring went through the roof. And a similar thing could happen to Yamal. So they might see the same trajectory that what they done with Messi, they might do with Yamal. And obviously that might mean, I mean, can I see Yamal playing as a false nine? I can't. I can't see him playing as a false nine, but I can see him playing as a 10. I don't believe he'll stick out on that right hand side. I think they'll want to get him more involved in the crucial part of the pitch. But again, Lamine Yamal, you can tell, has more of a free role, to just go and get on the ball and do his damage. And as I said, yeah, he's destined to be star of the future. And again, I expect him to dominate the Ballon d'Or, for the next 8 to 10 years, as I've said previously. Because I genuinely don't see another player that is on his level, of his age. And again, it's not because these players aren't good, the ones that are coming through, the likes of Doué, who's obviously slightly older. There's obviously a couple of other players that might think that they could, compete with Yamal. But to be doing what he's doing at 17, is, as I say, it's unheard of. Not even Messi was doing what Yamal's doing at 17. What I mean? He wasn't, in terms of the influence that Yamal has at that age, at 17. And obviously, as we know, Messi went on to be, for me, one of the top 3 greatest ever players to play the game. But Yamal's doing it at a younger age, because Messi, I believe, didn't start coming into his own seriously, I think, until he hit 18, 19. And Yamal's doing what he's doing now at 17. And again, for me, he's the best player in the world at 17 years of age, which is crazy. So yeah, I think it's gonna be another great season from Yamal. Obviously, United have just signed Marcus Rashford. And Rashford's gonna help in a sense of, impact sub, resting legs. If they got a crucial Champions League game coming up, or a league game against Real Madrid, if they wanted to rest some players. But Yamal, for me, is going to be a constant. As I said, providing he stays clear of injury, and fingers crossed he does as well. Yeah, I think he gets better and better each season. And he's going to be someone to watch, definitely. Guys, big up yourselves for coming through. We got 9 likes. Okay, if you're enjoying the content, just smash the like button. And again, guys, make sure you sub to the channel. And big up all yourselves for coming through. Big up to NBA News. Big up to ERF. And big up to Lucky FN 3DK. Guys, I will get back to your comments, obviously, once I've gone through what I've gone through. But yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned and keep giving me your comments, guys. And as I said, smash that like button if you haven't done so already. Yeah, your support is appreciated each and every time. So yeah, moving on to Kylian Mbappe. And as I said, I'm not surprised Mbappe's taking the 10 shirt. Number 9 for me didn't look right on his back. And again, 10 now for club and country. And I think first off, obviously his first season in terms of numbers. Let's be honest with you, man. I think he won La Liga top scorer. I can't remember how many goals he got in all comps. I want to say he got like 40, but I could be wrong. And if anyone in the chat knows how many goals Mbappe got, then again, make sure you put that in. Big up to Sportology as well. But for me, Mbappe, great first season in terms of numbers. But in terms of, so Dar Mike says 44. Yeah, big up Dar Mike. So again, Mbappe got 44 goals from what we've been told. Season just gone. But again, the major thing is it's all right getting all these goals, but have you got the trophies to back it up? And I think this is a major thing because I think individually people will look at and say Mbappe's had a great season, but in terms of what he contributed for the team, in terms of them getting over the line in crucial games, you have to say that he's kind of failed. Which again it does sound mad, but the evidence is there. Numbers, yes, but in terms of his effect for the whole team, it hasn't been good. Let's be honest. And again, this might be hard for people to dissect because people might say, yeah, but he done his job, he got the numbers. But again, these things do matter, in terms of his connection with the team, because all you have to look at is their star player before Mbappe came in was Vinicius Jr. And if you look at the contrast in seasons that Vinicius Jr. has had, season just gone, in comparison to before Mbappe came in, you know, on paper, Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe and Rodrigo looks good, but when you actually think about it, it was never really going to work anyway. And if you're someone that just really studies football like that, then these things won't be a surprise. And it wasn't a surprise to me because, as I said, you've got three players in Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius Jr., who are all wide players. All three of them play from the left. Again, I've mentioned this previously. A lot of people think that Rodrigo is actually a right winger. And again, I don't blame you for thinking that, but this just shows the problem that Rodrigo has, is that people think he's actually a right winger when actually he's a left winger. But because of Vinicius Jr. and obviously now Mbappe, that left wing spot he's not really going to get. And just going back to Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., you know, you can clearly see against the better teams, the top teams in Champions League or even Barcelona. Yeah, big up Sportology, man. Listen, I will get back to your comments, guys. So keep your support coming in, keep your questions coming in. And as I said, once I've finished discussing what I've said, I will get back to your comments each and every time. So big up. So yeah, just going back to Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe against the better teams in Champions League or against the Barcelonas. If you look at the majority of those games, they were struggling. Because you've got two players in Vinicius Jr. and Mbappe that want to be the star man. But they can't both be the star men, and especially when you're trying to really shoehorn them into the team. Because although Mbappe got the numbers, Mbappe's best games or his best work is done from that left channel. But that means what you're gonna do with Vinicius Jr., who, by right, since Benzema's gone, has been Real Madrid's key man. So he has to fit him in. He has to fit both players in, and then but it means you're going to lose something somewhere. You're losing Vinicius Junior's productivity because Mbappe's there, and then Rodrigo just goes into the wilderness really. So yeah, this is the issue that Real Madrid have, and as I said, on paper it looks good that all three of them there, but as a balance, it's never going to work. And I think the only way Vinicius Junior shines for me is if Real Madrid have a natural striker, which means Vinicius Jr. can be that left winger to play off the striker, which is why he works so well with Benzema, because Benzema's going to occupy the central positions. And again, Benzema's smart, he's very intelligent when he has the ball at his feet, even with his runs as well, which opened up a lot of space for Vinicius Jr. But if you look at Mbappe wants to get into the left channel where Vinicius Jr. is. And then with Rodrigo again is someone that likes to cut in, but when he's playing on the right hand side, he's cutting into traffic because obviously he's right footed. So and he's very 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 rarely going to go down the outside because that isn't the type of player that he is. So again, these things might go over people's heads, but yeah, these things are issues. And how I see Mbappe doing next season, well, again, him getting a number 10 shirt for club and country now. You think of the number 10s of previous years that used to have that number. You look at the likes of Luis Figo, Mesut Ozil, obviously Modric. Trying to think who else I had actually. So yeah, Ozil, Modric, Figo. Guys, let me know who else was number 10 for Real Madrid. I know I've got the main ones in Figo, Modric, and Mesut Ozil. I think there was someone else. Oh, did Wesley Sneijder have 10 when he was there? No, he had 23, I think, Wesley Sneijder. Uh, I'm pretty sure there was a few more of recent memory. But as I said, yeah, you'd think now that the team moving forward is going to be geared towards Mbappe for sure. So I mean, what does that spell for Vinicius Jr.? And as I said, Vinny's asking for a new contract. And again, I mentioned this earlier, in one of my previous streams. What Vinicius Jr. has done there is a power play because he wants to see how committed Real Madrid are to him. So the fact that he's asking for a lot of money, you know, do Real Madrid value him that highly? Or is it a case now that Mbappe's there, Vinicius Jr. might be surplus to requirements, Because there's no doubting that Vinicius Jr. does have quality, but for me, his quality is not going to shine as long as Mbappe's there, which is why Rodrigo for me has to get out of Real Madrid purely for that reason, because he's got two players there that are going to take preference over him in those attacking areas. And again, you think of the likes of Jude Bellingham, his profile again is ahead of Rodrigo's, which it shouldn't be, So yeah, there is problems there. Again, you got Gonzalo Garcia, who's a natural striker, and I think someone mentioned him earlier in the chat. Gonzalo Garcia is a natural striker, but he's not going to get game time where is needed, because you got to fit in Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. And I think the best way to fit in Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. is by playing split strikers, But that means one of those players has to play from the right. So if you're going to play like a false nine, which Rodrigo could play, as a false nine, dropping into midfield, and getting on the ball and having the pace in Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. from out wide, that would work well. But the problem is, that's not going to happen, And again, Mbappe, when Mbappe was first coming through, Mbappe was playing from the right. If anyone remembers, for France, they had the likes of Blaise Matuidi, I think, on the left-hand side. Then they played Pogba, Kante, Griezmann, and Mbappe was on the right, and then Giroud was a striker. So Mbappe coming through was playing from the right for France. But now, because of his standing in the game, he might look at it and say, look, he's too good to play on that right-hand side now, But it's going to create its own problems, because the best way for those two to thrive in the same team, for me, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., is by playing split strikers. Because I don't believe playing Mbappe through the middle and Vini on the left is going to work. And that was proven last season against the better teams, because you've got two players there that are going to be behind the ball, which means Real Madrid really are defending with 9 players, So yeah, this is the problem that Real Madrid have. And yeah, as I said, whether they're gonna sacrifice, you would think it's gonna be Vinicius Jr., because Mbappe is more of the recent signing. Who knows? Xabi Alonso, even if he changes the formation to a 3-4-3, what he did at Bayer Leverkusen, the same problems are going to exist, because I just don't think Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. as two left wingers is going to work, with one of them playing through the middle. Although Mbappe did get the numbers, as I said. But in terms of the seasons they're going to have, I think Mbappe, I think he might have a similar season in terms of numbers. Mbappe is a player, that will score goals. He's got the pace, and in that league where there isn't much physicality, someone with his pace playing at one of the best teams in the league, in the world as well, he's gonna get his fair share of goals, because there is gonna be opportunities for him at Real Madrid. But as I keep saying, when it really matters against the top teams, how are Real Madrid gonna line up to get the best out of Vini and Mbappe when it really matters? And this is the problem. But again, I do expect him to have a good season. Between him and Yamal, I think Yamal will have the better season for me, because I think Yamal is going to be more crucial in terms of Barcelona winning, whether it's the Champions League, the league, um, or the Spanish Copa del Rey, Spanish Super Cup. I think Yamal will have more of an impact in that sense. Whereas, as I said, against crucial teams in the Champions League, or against the likes of Barcelona or Atletico Madrid, as I've mentioned, if Xabi Alonso tries to play those two together, I don't know if it's going to work. But what I would say, you've got, again, two iconic numbers at both clubs, and you've got them in the hands of two of the biggest superstars in world football right now. But yeah, I'm going to say Yamal has a better season. I think Yamal is going to kick on yet again. And I think as well, people might say the number 10 shirt, might add pressure from who's previously had it. But I actually think, Yamal's going to go to another level, because, again, I've never seen a player that young being given that huge responsibility of being the club's number 10, in comparison to, who's had it in previous years gone by. I think Ansu Fati got given the number 10, but I think he might have been slightly older. I think he might have been 18. I could be wrong. But the fact that Yamal's been given that number 10 at 17, just shows you how highly he's thought of, And as I said, I don't think he's gonna buckle under the pressure. I think he's gonna go on, and get even better. So yeah, I'm gonna say Yamal will have the better season. Not nothing to do with numbers. I'm just saying in how crucial he's going to be for the team in helping them get over the line if they're going to go on their way to win titles. Big up to Sham, man. Big up Sham. Big up to Robert as well for coming through. But guys, yeah, big up yourselves. If you just come through, again, make sure you smash the like button. We've got 11 likes. There's 11 of you in at the moment. So if you haven't smashed that like button, obviously make sure you do. Obviously help the channel to grow. And again, guys, make sure you sub to the channel. So I think I'm 5 short of 1,240. So yeah, as I said, if you enjoy the content, then make sure you sub to the channel. I'm gonna go through your chats, guys. Big up yourselves. So Lumi Rain said Seydorf's such a baller. So if any of you have seen the poll today, just like what Gamer said, then yeah, make sure you give me your vote. Yeah, so yeah, give me your vote, guys, and let me know what you think. So Lumi Rain says Jude Bellingham and Bruno Fernandes are the two most overrated players around. Listen, Lumi, you're not telling lies there. 100% I agree with that. And again, I've spoken about both players previously. And to think that you've got two players in Jude Bellingham and Bruno Fernandes. I know obviously United have changed formation now, but you've got two players that are playing in positions, a number 10 position, that doesn't belong to players like that. Both players for me are number 8s, box-to-box midfielders, but they're playing in positions, that notoriously throughout the years are crucial positions in teams. You look at the likes of Dennis Bergkamp, Roberto Baggio, Mesut Ozil, Riquelme, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Pablo Aimar, Totti, Del Piero. There's probably names that I've actually forgotten, yeah? These guys are real number 10s, and if people don't know what real number 10s are, Zinedine Zidane. I cannot forget Zidane. Maradona. Like, these guys, Neymar, Hazard, these guys are real number 10s in the sense of they are your best players, notoriously, and they are your go-to guys in terms of everything's going to be revolved around them. Rui Costa, yeah? And to think that you've got Bellingham and Bruno Fernandes, who are most effective, without the ball in terms of the running power, to think that these two players have been playing in number 10 positions. I mean, if there's ever an indication that football has dropped off, is seeing those two players in number 10 positions, when I've seen the likes of those players that I've just mentioned. So yeah, Lumi, listen, I agree, man. Two of the most overrated players in football today. And when I'm talking about the likes of Lamine Yamal, it's just refreshing to see players like that. You know, Wesley Schneider, another one. You know, there's loads of number 10s, you know, that I've forgotten about as well. That, you know, these guys like your Brunos and Jude Bellingham are nowhere near the level. You know, and again, to see those players running around in the number 10 positions, you know, at two of the biggest clubs in the world, it just shows you where football's gone. Unfortunately, you know, it's an athlete's game now. But the likes of Lamine Yamal, for me, are keeping it alive. So that's all we can hope for. But big up, Lumi. Good question. Or good comment, should I say. Fatty was meant to be what Yamal's becoming. Yep. Again, spoken about Ansu Fati before. You know, I'm a massive fan of Ansu Fati still. You know, Fati, when he came through, you know, was actually frightening. Obviously, injuries and form have killed his career. I think Fatty's now what? He must be in his 20s now. I think he might be at 21. Obviously, he went on loan to Brighton as well. Didn't really figure as much as he should have. Now he's at Monaco, you know. And again, there's a reason why they gave Ansu Fati the number 10 shirt, you know. And the fact that he's gone to Monaco on loan, you know, yeah, it's annoying because I still think Ansu Fati has got what it takes, but I think there's a clause in there that Monaco can buy him for a low price. So it's one of them things where if he does well, then you're thinking Monaco sign him, and if he don't do well, then he'll probably go back to Barcelona, and they probably look to move him on anyway. So I think he's in a situation now that it's going to be difficult for it's going to be difficult to see where Ansu Fati's career is gonna go really, and it's a shame because he's still young, you know, and for me, he still has the quality. I think he just needs to get his confidence back, stay injury clear, and play regularly, you know. And then I still think there's a top player there, but it's not looking that good at the moment, I would say. But him going to Monaco with Paul Pogba, listen, I expect Monaco to be doing very good this season with what they've got. You know, you've got Pogba, you've got Lamine Kamara, Fati, you know, I think they've got a few other players as well. Is it Ben Seguer, I think, plays there as well. So, yeah, I expect them to be doing well this season. And if he does, I think Ansu Fati needs to be targeting getting back into that Spain squad. You know, because before Nico Williams was there, Ansu Fati was on that left wing. And obviously, as I said, loss of form and injury has kind of delayed his progress. But I'm hoping Fati does... you know, I'm hoping Fati does get back to that level, or get back to level that people expected of him. But yeah, there's no doubting that Yamal is has taken over from what Fati was doing. And listen, rightfully so, man, because as I said, Yamal's the best player in the world at 17 years of age, you know. So M says Jude and Bruno are overhated. The hate is immense because of the bitter rivals. No, I don't agree with that, M, if you're still in the chat. Nah, Bruno and Jude are not overhated. For me, the way that I look at it, if you're a football lover, yeah, and when I mean a football lover, if you're someone that takes a deep interest into football in terms of, you know, styles of play, the styles of players, then you won't say Jude and Bruno are overhated. Again, I've given you a list of players that are real number 10s, you know, and to think that Jude Bellingham and Bruno Fernandes are spoken about in the way they are in comparison to those players, you know, again, I mean, Matt Letizia, another one, you know, Paolo Di Canio, you know, again, I knew there'll be guys that I forgot, Dimitri Payet, like Jude Bellingham and Bruno Fernandes are nowhere near the level. And again, it's not overhating. It's just that when you've seen players like that, you know, and you have to watch those players getting hyped up really by people that haven't really watched the game properly, I would say, you know, there's no one that can tell me that I have to rate Jude Bellingham and Bruno Fernandes. I never have, I never will, you know, because I've seen some real players. And again, to say that the hate is to say it's overhated or the hate is immense because of bitter rivals, like rivalry is rivalry, you know. And for me, I'm a Man United fan for one, you know, and also I like Barcelona. So the thing is, for me, there's no hate. I don't need to hate really. You know, I'm just giving you my opinion on what I've seen throughout the years, And those two players for me are nowhere near the level. But again, it's down to opinion. If that's your opinion, if you think that those two are the level, then that's up to you, man. But no one's gonna tell me that these two players are top players because they're not. You know. Big up to Jude says, do you think Lamine Yamal could have a similar level of career to Messi or Ronaldo? 100%. I think when we're saying similar career, if we're talking about numbers, as I said, do I believe Yamal gets more numbers than what Ronaldo got? I don't, because again, Yamal's more of a footballer than he is a stat merchant. You know, as we know about Ronaldo, Ronaldo had a great career, but when Ronaldo went to Real Madrid, you know, he became goal hungry, you know, and a lot of it was to keep relevance with Messi because Messi was the complete player in terms of the better footballer, but Messi had numbers to go with it as well. Whereas Ronaldo, you know, as great as a career he's had to keep relevant with Messi by just getting numbers, you know. So I don't think Yamal's not going to reach the number level that Ronaldo got, but in terms of quality, you know, Ballon d'Ors, being able to recreate what Messi has done, you know, I'm not saying that he's going to surpass Messi because that's going to be very difficult. But in terms of the quality that Messi provided, you know, Yamal's obviously still got it all to prove. But the way that he's going, you know, I see him having a similar career if he stays clear of injury, 100%. Because as I said, Messi and Ronaldo wasn't doing what Yamal's doing at 17, you know. And if he's doing that at 17 and he continues, you know, going up and up and up, why can't he reach that level? You know, as I said, for me, it's going to be interesting to see if Yamal, as he gets older, is he going to, you know, become someone that becomes goal hungry? You know, I don't think he will. I think he'll still get his fair share of goals and assists. But I want to see when he gets older, is he going to become, you know, a bit more selfish in terms of getting the numbers to be Ballon d'Or favourite? You know, I don't think he will, but who knows, you know. But good question, Jude. Big up, man. Lumi says, a lot of my Arsenal mates reckon Max Dowman will follow Yamal's trajectory. Yeah, listen, if anyone hasn't seen my Next Gen 50, you know, I've done Max Dowman as well of Arsenal. And what I would say for Max Dowman, from what I've seen, and again, Max Dowman is actually from, you know, an area just down the road from me, actually, funny enough. But what I would say about Max Dowman, from what I've seen, and again, it's very important to look at youth football and differentiate between youth football and men's football. So what he's doing in youth football right now, you know, you can say it's too easy for him, you know. And again, he's someone that, you know, for me, it just looks like it's a stroll in the park at that level, you know, because he's got the quality, he's getting the numbers as well. He needs to be tested more for me. And I think going into men's football, you know, he's not going to have it his own way, as we know. So I think it's very difficult to look at Dowman now at, what's he, 15, and say he's going to go on the same trajectory as Yamal, because Yamal was doing it in men's football, you know, in Champions League, in La Liga, in European Championships. Yamal was doing it at 16. Dowman's 1 year younger than him, and Dowman's not even on the periphery of getting into Arsenal's first team. And again, I don't believe Dowman gets into being the first team regular after he's 17. Because if you look at what Arsenal have right now in Ethan Nwaneri's what, 18? You know, isn't a regular starter. Obviously, they've got Odegaard in the 10. So where Dowman plays in the 10, he's got Odegaard. Havertz can play there as well. You know, Nwaneri plays in the 10. So for me, Dowman isn't going to get a regular game time at Arsenal, you know. And whether he goes on loan, whether he's 16 or whatever, I'm not too sure, 16, 17, who knows. But Yamal's doing it right now at 17, was doing it at 16 for club and country. So to say that Dowman's going to have the same trajectory as Yamal, that can't really be said, because as I said, Dowman's doing what he's doing in youth football under 23s. You know, he's yet to do anything in the first team for Arsenal. You know, if he comes into the first team at Arsenal and holds his place down at a young age, then fair enough. That conversation could be had. But the fact is, Lamine Yamal's doing it has been doing it at 16. And guys, let's not forget, Lamine Yamal made his debut, youngest ever player for Barcelona, at 15. You know, so these things have to be taken into consideration. Made his debut at 15, you know, key player for club and country at 16, has the number 10 shirt for Barca at 17. Max Dowman's not going to do that. So I don't think he's going to have the same trajectory for me as Yamal, but there's no doubt in that he's got a lot of potential. But whether he becomes a regular at Arsenal, I'm not too sure, you know. But I think one thing's for certain, that under 23 football for him is looking easy. But how's he going to force his way into that Arsenal first team, you know? Because again, Yamal was doing that at 16. So this is the question that people need to really ask themselves, you know, is that likely to happen for him? Um so Crawley Eagle says, do United have any academy players with world-class potential? I mean, it's hard to say really, Crawley Eagle, because again, I don't really pay too much attention to the youth team. I used to back in the day, but I don't really now, because for me, as I keep saying, what I've seen in terms of the youth players from years gone by, you know, I don't really look at any player as that kind of level. I mean, Sekou Kone for me looks very good. Obviously, he was bought from he was bought to the club, but he looks someone for me that is ready to come and, you know, be an asset to the first team squad. I'm looking at him. Shea Lacey, I think looks good, but again, he might still be a bit lightweight for this league, or might not be ready. So yeah, no, I can't really give my opinion on that really. I mean, if we're looking at obviously the likes of recent times in terms of Kobe Minu for me is a very good player, but should Kobe Minu be a first team player for Man United? You know, if Man United are really doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the answer is no. I look at Man United right now, and Kobe should be a starter, but in this system, he can't play in the two. So, and obviously in the tens, you've got Cunha there now. So, yeah, it's difficult for him, but he's the only one really of recent time that I can say, yeah, he's got quality. But unless this manager goes and the system or the formation changes, I don't see Kobe fulfilling his potential. You know, so this is the problem. But I'm looking at Sekou Kone really, that I think's that has got potential to be. I mean, world class, I think is a bit too early, but he has got the potential to be a real player. You know, everyone else, I can't really make judgment really, because I say I don't really watch United too much. But again, if they had world class potential, they'll be figuring somehow in this first team. This is the difference. You know, that's how you gotta look at it. M says, do you think Valverde will ever surpass Gerrard as a player? Um, I don't know. It depends. I mean, these kind of questions, really, they're interesting questions, but they don't really make sense for me, because it's like, like, when you're saying surpass him as a player, like, it depends what you're looking for him to do. Like, the whole thing doesn't make sense, because, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Are you looking at trophies won? You're looking at the overall player? You know, like the question is subjective. Like, if you narrow it down, what do you think Valverde has to, like? I'll ask you the question, Em, if you're still there. If you think Gerard's a better player than Valverde, what do you think Valverde needs to do in order to become a better player than Gerard? I think that's a better question, because a lot of these things are subjective, and it's not as simple as just answering that question, because it could be many things. You might say, do I think Valverde has the potential to win more Champions League than Gerrard? Well, the answer is yes, because he's won more already. I think he's won more already. And I expect Real Madrid to be competing for Champions League and Valverde to still be there. So, again, narrow down your question and let me know how you're kind of looking at it as well. Lucky FN says, what team support? Manchester United. Big up to ERF as well. So what football team you support and who do you think will win the Premier League? So obviously I support Man United, as I said, and I like Barcelona as well. Who do I think wins the Premier League? So as I said, I'm going to stick with my original opinion. You know, before Liverpool signed Ekatike, I said the business that both teams have done, I was slightly leaning towards Man City. But I'm going to say now, with the sign of Ekatike, I think that takes Liverpool above Man City. But for me, I think it's going to be between those two teams. But again, things could change because the window's still open. You never know. City might go into the market and get a couple more players. The same with Chelsea. They might get a couple more players that might change opinions. But yeah, I'm going to say Liverpool, you know, because they've made 4 signings that go straight into the 11 for me, you know. You think of Kirkez, he's a starting fullback. Same with Frimpong. Florian Wirtz, no-brainer. He's going to come straight into the team. And Ekatike, for me, goes straight in at number 9. So they've signed 4 players to go straight into their first team, you know. And again, just look at what they've done last season. So they're only going to get stronger, you know. So, yeah. But big up. Gamer says, Isak breaking news, didn't travel with team for pre-season. I see him leaving Newcastle this winter to Liverpool. What do you think? Yeah, Gamer, man. Yeah, Isak's not going on pre-season because he's got a thigh injury. Like, it's nothing to do with him leaving. As I said, Isak's not leaving. He's not going Liverpool. As I said, it's been reported that he's got a thigh injury. You know, and again, I keep saying this, guys. Isak is not leaving Newcastle for Liverpool because Liverpool are going to have to spend about 150 million on Isak, and they're not going to do that. And not to mention, you know, Newcastle might not even accept that, you know, because they've now got to go and replace a player who's their main source of goals. So again, even 150 million, which you would think to yourself, they have to accept, you know, Newcastle might not even need the money. And they won't need the money because they've got rich owners. So for me, you know, I wouldn't worry if you're a Newcastle fan about Isak leaving. The only time you should worry about Isak leaving is if Isak comes out and says he wants to leave. Because if he comes out and says he wants to leave, then Newcastle have a decision to make, you know. But I don't believe Isak's going to do that because his relationship with the fans, the Newcastle fans, is very good. So, yeah, I don't see no team in the Premier League getting Isak. As I said yesterday, the only likely teams I can see Isak going to is the big teams in Spain, whether that's a Barcelona or a Real Madrid or possibly a Bayern Munich. If I know Bayern Munich have signed that Walter Marde, you know, and he could be replacement for Harry Kane when Harry Kane decides to leave there. That could be a possibility. So the possibilities for me for Isak are Barca, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich or PSG. So I think those teams, first and foremost, would get Isak before Newcastle sell him to a Premier League rival. So, yeah, I think, yeah, there's no point worrying about that, I would say, Gamer. He's got a thigh injury, and I don't see anything in the Newcastle, in the Liverpool getting Isak for me. No. Crawley Eagles says, I won't lie, Arsenal have some ballers coming through. Saka, Wanyeri and Miles Lewis-Skelly, all that they will be world-class. And now they have Dowman and Salmon that look like generational players. To be fair, I've not heard of Salmon. So if anyone knows about Salmon, let me know what he's good at or how he is. Because I've not heard nothing about him. Max Dowman, I just spoke on already. I think Dowman, as I said, does look like he's got something. But again, how he's going to find his way in this Arsenal team when Wanyeri can't even get in. This is the question that he has to ask himself, even at the young age, because, you know, again, he's only 15 and he's still got time to grow, hell of a lot of time to grow. But because I rate Wanyeri highly, and Wanyeri signed a new contract, so Saka's not going anywhere, and Wanyeri for me is in the pecking order ahead of Dowman. So how does Dowman actually get into this team in the future? So again, yeah, they've got some good players in Saka, Wanyeri, and Lewis Skelly. They're all very good players, and they're all, well, Saka's definitely a starter. Same with Lewis Skelly now as well. 1 year he's got to find his place in the team. But yeah, they've got a lot of talent coming through, man, definitely. But again, I think in 1 year and Dowman and Salmon, yeah, it's still a long way ahead of them. I think Saka's nailed his place down for club and country, really, and even in the squad for England. And Lewis Skelly looking like he's on his way to doing that as well. So yeah, they've got some talent coming through, but whether that's going to be enough for them to get a Premier League title or a Champions League, I don't think so. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Sportology says Vissa only had like 1 goal less than Mbuemo. I don't know why no big clubs sign him. Yeah, Sportology, big up, man. I've said this on my last stream, and I've been saying this at the start of the transfer window. I even said even Gamer would vouch for this. I said if Newcastle was serious, before Mbuemo chose Man United, Newcastle need to go in for both Mbuemo and Vissa and get a double deal done. And I said if they would have done that, that would, for me, would make Newcastle title contenders if they got both of them players in. Obviously, Mbuemo's now at Man United. Vissa, they're looking at. But why Man United haven't gone in for Vissa, I don't know. Tottenham were rumoured to be in for him as well under Thomas Frank. But it's looking like Newcastle are the most favoured team to get him. And again, Vissa's very underrated, man. He's someone that doesn't really get spoken about as much as other players. But he's proven at Brentford, with Ivan Toney going, that combination with Mbuemo, Hobbs and Shaw, he's proven that, yeah, that he can score goals in this league. And I know he's I think he's 28, but I'm telling you now, any team he goes to, whether it's Newcastle, Tottenham, United, whoever, he's gonna score goals and he's gonna be a massive threat to whatever team he goes to, because he's very underrated. But yeah, I agree, man. Like, I'm surprised there hasn't been many teams in for him. The only thing that I can think of is teams are probably looking at the resale value in the sense that you might not get much if you did want to move him on. But I think players like that, you need to ignore the resale value and just know that he's going to do the business as soon as he comes in, because he can play as a target man, he can run the channels, he can create, and he can score. And if he's doing that for Brentford, then yeah, listen, bring him in, man, because he's a very good player. I rate him very highly. The Mike says, what do you think about Rashford? Yeah, listen, Rashford's someone that needed to leave the club years ago, Obviously, he's gone to Barcelona, and as I mentioned yesterday, what a career. What a move for him, personally, for his career. And it's a smart signing by Barcelona, But do I think Barca sign him after the loan? I don't. I think Barca will be looking for the next up-and-coming talent, And again, I think because of Rashford's wages, I know they can sign him for 26 million at the end of the contract, at the end of the loan. But I just think that Barca will be looking elsewhere. I think it's a smart signing by Barca, getting someone that can cover as a striker and as a left winger for Lewandowski and for Rafinha. But I don't believe they make it permanent. But yeah, I think Rashford now, obviously World Cup year as well, he's got things to prove because his place in that England squad is by no means certain. So he's gonna have to, show his worth to Barcelona, which is gonna help him get his place in the England squad. And I think, I think he can score goals in that Spanish league, with his pace. But he's gonna have a tough time trying to get in that lineup because Yamal's a certainty. Lewandowski's a certainty, you would say as well, with experience, and he guarantees you goals. Not to mention he's a target man striker and a link play striker as well. And Rafinha's come off the back of the season of his life. So how Rashford gets in with Ferran Torres as well, that will try to be getting there as well, is going to be difficult. But yeah, man, he's got it all to do. But yeah, he should have been sold a long time ago. And the funny thing is, Rashford could actually return back to Man United. Funny enough, he could. He could actually return at the end of his contract. So who knows? Gav, what do you think about Endrick now? Gonzalo Garcia has also came. So I don't know. Will he fulfill his potential at Madrid? Again, you know what it is, yeah, with Endrick, yeah. You know, and I think I've spoken about this before. Again, check out my Next Gen 50, guys. I've done Endrick as well. So just go onto my playlist, Next Gen 50. You know, so it's the best 50 young players in world football. Give that a check. There's a few players on there that I've done. So yeah, I spoke about Endrick, and with me, I think when I first saw Endrick, I immediately said, you know what, this guy's got the potential to be one of the best strikers in the world in the future. You know, left-footed like Adriano. You know, diminutive in size like Romario, and he looked ice cold in front of goal like Ronaldo, R9. So for me, I was looking at a player there that I thought, yeah, he's going to be special. What changed my mind for me, and again, you know, his off the field activities, you know, the fact that he's married now and all this nonsense that, you know, I think what I've been hearing, you know, that he's got going on in his personal life as well with his wife now. Again, those things are separate, you know, but those things are concerning from what I've been hearing. But what changed it for me with Endrick is that he come on for his debut against England, funny enough, for Brazil. And although he scored on his debut against them, there was another chance that he had. And from what I've seen of Endrick in the clips, he went through on goal, and I thought, right, Endrick's going to score, you know. The way he missed the chance, again, I can't remember the full chance, but he missed it, yeah. The way he missed it, I actually didn't expect, because from what I saw of Endrick, I thought, you know what, this guy's got something. And the fact that he missed that chance and the way he missed it, I thought maybe the way that I was looking at him wasn't what I expected, you know. And obviously him going to Real Madrid, you know, hasn't got game time, you know, at Madrid. The fact that Garcia done what he done in the Club World Cup, he's now another player that's going to be competing with Endrick for a position. And let's get it right, guys. Those two guys are not even going to get game time, really, because Mbappe's there through the middle. Vinicius Jr.'s there. Rodrigo's still there. Then you've got Arda Güler, who can play if they're playing free up top. You know, Brahim Diaz. There's a lot of competition in those places. And to answer your question about Endrick, yeah, Gonzalo Garcia really has put himself in contention, and Endrick now has gone from can't get a game because Mbappe's playing through the middle, but now you got Gonzalo Garcia to kind of contend with. So I just don't know. I think in terms of finishing, in terms of scoring goals, I think Endrick will score goals, you know, because he does look ice cold in front of goal, regardless of the miss he done against England. But I think he needs to go out on a loan or possibly go on a permanent, I would say, because what is he now, 18? I think he's 17 or 18, and his career is going to go just like that if he doesn't start getting game time, you know. I would have him at Man United. I would, on a loan deal. But whether that loan deal is possible to do, you know, it might be a bit complicated. But he definitely needs to go out on loan and get some game time, because his career will go just like that if he's not careful. And Crawley Eagles says, I can see Endrick going to Newcastle. Again, if they don't get Visser, why not gamble and get Endrick on loan? You know? But yeah, he definitely needs a loan. Like, I'll be very surprised if he stays at Real Madrid again this season, knowing that Gonzalo Garcia is in contention and Mbappe's going to play. So it's another season on the bench for him. But yeah, he needs a loan, definitely, for me. Guys, come on, only 16 likes. Let's try and at least hit 20. There's 10 of you in there at the moment. Again, if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button, guys, and sub to the channel as well. Let's see. So Lumi Rain says, what you're saying reminds me of when PSG had Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. It's hard to get three superstars to all work together. 100%. And this is why PSG are doing what they're doing now, because they haven't got, you know, the outstanding superstar. You know, they've got a lot of very, very, very special players, you would say, or very, very good players. You know, whereas when you got Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, all three of them in their own right need to be number one. And then what happens is that out of all three of them, you had the hardest working one really was Neymar, because Neymar did track back. But then you've got three players that notoriously were always behind the ball. And if you're playing against the best teams in Europe, that's never going to work. You know, which is why you look at PSG now, They've got Dembele, they've got Kvaratskhelia, they've got Doué and Barcola in the wide areas. You know, all them players there. There isn't one outstanding superstar. You know, so they all offer the team different things. You know, and this is why they won the Champions League. You know, this is why it works. Whereas on paper, Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe looks frightening, but realistically, it's never really going to work against the best teams. You know, in the French league, it's going to work because 9 times out of 10, they're going to have the ball. You know, but in Champions League, where, you know, you've got other teams that are going to be just as good as PSG, you know, that's too much work for their midfielder to contend with. So, yeah, it was always going to be difficult, you know. But yeah, no, big up Lumi, man. As Jude said, yeah, too many big names, you know. Not everyone can thrive. Bilal says, do you see Rashi overtaking any of the front three at Barca? Well, I mentioned this before. The only way Rashford, the only player for me that Rashford is likely to overtake is possibly Rafinha. And that sounds mad to say because Rafinha's numbers, you know, was mad. Rafinha got, I think, about 50, 54, 55 GA last season. You know, but the reason I say it's Rafinha is because Yamal's Yamal. Lewandowski, there's no one in the squad that can do the role that he does. And he guarantees you a certain amount of numbers as well, goals. So, and again, Rashford plays from the left. So, the only position that he can possibly get in is on that left. But it's not going to be easy because he's going to have to come off the bench. And again, he's gonna have to show, you know, quality coming off the bench and getting some goals to even put him in contention. Because that three there are going to be the favoured three again. So, yeah, he's got it all to do, man, which is, essentially, is going to be hard. But, yeah, if he really wants his England place to be secured and to get, you know, back on track in his eyes, then, yeah, he's going to have to do something special, man. And it's not going to be easy. Big up to Mitchell Stark. Thought you can say Tony Stark for a minute, but big up, man. Yeah, Lewandowski will get rest as well. But again, Ferran Torres can play through the middle as well. So, yeah, Rashford's going to get game time. He will get game time. But whether he's going to make that impact to show Hansi Flick that he should be starting, I don't know. It's going to be hard because, as I said, you've more or less got two places that he's going to be competing for because Yamal's got that right-hand side on lock. You know what I mean? And not to mention, Dani Olmo as well can also play in the wide areas from the left. So, yeah. So, Safcom Wallace says, Trashford don't deserve a move to Barca. Yeah, he didn't deserve it, but he's got it. So, that's what you got to deal with. He didn't deserve it, but he's there now. He's on loan. So, obviously, it's down to him now to try and show, you know, why they were interested in him, you know. Mitchell says, Mbappe also used to play right wing at the start of his PSG career when Cavani was at striker and Neymar at left wing. Yeah, Mitchell, man, big up. Yeah, he did. He did. Again, when Mbappe was coming through, he was a right winger. Well, he came through at Monaco. You know, obviously at Monaco, played more through the middle. And that Monaco team was ridiculous. You know, Bernardo Silva, Mbappe, Falcao. You know, they had some serious players there. So, yeah, obviously, younger Mbappe was playing more right wing. Obviously, as he's got older, it's now left wing. At Real, obviously, he's through the middle. So, but I believe if Real want to get the best out of him and Vinicius Jr. together, you know, against the better teams, it might need to be a split striker thing, you know, or you just sacrifice one of the players. You know, if it's Vinicius Jr., Mbappe goes to the left, and then you go and get an actual striker, you know. That could be an option, but who knows what Xabi Alonso is going to do. Lumi says, Rashford is unbelievably talented. He just needs a fresh start. Lumi, I disagree. I don't think Rashford is unbelievably talented. I just think what happened to Rashford is that because he come through United's youth team, Mank born and bred, you know, I think the fan base just hyped him up to a level that he was never really meant to reach. As I said, I've mentioned to you players like Mason Greenwood, Angel Gomez, Paul Pogba, um, Giuseppe Rossi, Chris Eagles, Kieran Richardson, Lee Martin. There's probably a few others that I've forgotten. These players all come through United's youth team, or reserves. And some of them for different reasons. Ravel Morrison, for different reasons, didn't become regular players for United. And I'd argue that Rashford isn't better than any of them. You know, I think what's happened with Rashford is that obviously he's capitalized on his PR. Obviously feeding the kids and that. He's capitalized on that, and he's built himself, a loyal fan base and massive PR. You know, in on the back and on off the back of that. But Rashford was never meant to be the player that a lot of people thought he was gonna be. Because again, I always bring it back to when Anthony Martial was there. The fan base were desperate to put Rashford ahead of Martial. But if you just know football, you would know, injuries aside, Rashford was nowhere near the level of Martial as a footballer. He wasn't. But he was given so much opportunity, for him to be ahead of Martial because, as we know, it's because he was from the youth system. And Man United have a habit of just forcing through youth players, regardless if they're the level or not. Hence Garnacho. So yeah, as I said, I don't think he's unbelievably talented, but I do think that in comparison to Man United still having Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund at the club, those players should have been gone before Marcus Rashford. That's what I will say. So, but yeah, listen, he needs a fresh start, definitely. And he's getting that at Barcelona, so it's down to him now. Sportology says, who will land Lookman, in your opinion? Lookman's going to Inter. Yeah, as Jude said, he's gone to Inter, yeah. Yeah, he's gone to Inter Milan. From what I last see, anyway. So I think Arsenal will cook with Gyökeres because they just need a striker who taps in the goals. Havertz missed so many chances, says Mitchell Stark. Yeah, listen, Gyökeres is obviously what they need in terms of someone that's going to get goals. Whether that's enough to win the league or the Champions League, I'm not so sure. So, but yeah, we will be here, man. We will be here for that. Bilal says, what WTF is this crap about not deserving his move to Barca? Not his biggest fan, but you can't say who deserves what. I think if we're looking at it, Bilal, off the back of, his last couple of seasons, I think this is where SAFC Tom is saying off the back of his last few seasons. Because to think that Rashford has got a loan move to Barcelona, again, who's one of the biggest clubs in the world, off the back of a poor couple of seasons, then it is crazy to think, But again, Barca have obviously seen something that they like in him, Hansi Flick, and he's got that move. As I keep saying, it's down to Rashford now to prove that he has what it takes to be at Barcelona. Again, he's taken number 14 shirt off his idol Henry. He's going to be playing with some top players. So, yeah, I said it's down to him, man, at the end of the day. Crawley Eagle says, Arsenal win the league. They are too hungry for it and have the final piece of the puzzle to get it done finally. Crawley, I'm guessing you're an Arsenal fan, and big up yourself, man. But, yeah, listen, for me, I still have Arsenal as third or fourth. Third or fourth right now. Gyökeres is a good signing for what they need. But for me, do I see them toppling City and Liverpool? I don't. So, yeah, big up, man. And yes, Jude, I agree, man. As a United fan, it was better for both Rashford and United if he left. I agree with that, 100%. I do agree. Just going through some of the chats, guys. Come on, smash the like button, guys, if you can. Let's at least try and hit 20 before we wrap up. So Sportology says Bellingham was just playing good when there wasn't a superstar, as he just tapped in goals and he got the hype. And again, you know what it is? A lot of these things go over people's head, you know? And I've mentioned this before, guys. So if you look at why Jude Bellingham was effective for Real Madrid the season before Mbappe came and got the numbers, there's no surprising why that happened. You know, Jude Bellingham was playing as a false nine come midfielder, you know, because again, Barca played with split strikers in Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr, right and left. So Jude Bellingham basically was playing as a cheating midfielder, someone that was getting on the end of tap-ins, as Sportology mentioned, you know, and getting headers in. So people got carried away that Jude Bellingham was getting the numbers because they thought Jude Bellingham would be doing this for the entirety of his career. But all you got to look at is formations and systems are a thing in football. And the fact that Real Madrid now have a striker in Mbappe, you know, basically what's happened is that Mbappe's come in and he's in the positions that Jude Bellingham was in. So Bellingham's numbers have gone down and Mbappe's have gone up. This is what I've been trying to explain, in the sense of, if you look at Manchester United, for instance, before Ronaldo came in, Bruno Fernandes was getting the majority of the goals. As soon as Ronaldo came in, Bruno's numbers dropped and Ronaldo's went up. Because again, football doesn't work where you just get two number 9 strikers in a system, or if you get 2 goal scorers in a system, they're both going to get 60 goals, let's say, combined. That's not how football works. Someone's going to lose out, you know. And this is why I'm trying to say to you, with Man United right now, because you've got wide forwards in Mbuemo and Cunha, who have shown that they can get goals at their previous clubs, you don't go and get a number 9 striker that wants to go and get goals, because those 2 players out wide are going to struggle, you know. So you need to get a number 9 that can link the play and get the best out of them, which is why I'm trying to say to you, Joshua Zirkzee is ideal because he's unselfish, you know. And this is where, you know, understanding of football comes into it, you know. So going back to the Bellingham thing, you know, people that think Bellingham was great because he got all those goals, the goals dried up, and they was gonna dry up once Real Madrid got a proper striker in. And then again, like, someone has to miss out, and it meant that Bellingham missed out, and you can arguably say as well that Vinicius Jr and Rodrigo missed out because Mbappe got the majority of the goals. And this is how football works, you know. Robert says, I'm an Arsenal fan and I think Odegaard is quite overrated. He's a great player, but the fan base need to stop glazing him. Yeah, look, I think as a footballer, Odegaard's good, but how when I hear the way some of these fans talk about Odegaard, you know, I never heard these fans talk about Ozil in that way. And Ozil's a miles better player than Odegaard. And Odegaard is a good footballer, but the way they talk about him, yeah, it is quite criminal, to be honest. But yeah, it is what it is. Guys, I'm just going to skim through your chat before we wrap up. You know, again, if I don't get onto everyone's questions or comments, then big up yourselves. I'm trying to skim through some of the ones that are the comments that I'm looking out for. So Ramazidin says, what do you think about Abdulkader Kusanov? So Kusanov, for me, I think Kusanov, you know, I know a lot of people are saying that Kusanov, you know, isn't well, I'll say isn't that great. I think there was a lot of criticism for him last season. His positioning, you know, that he was getting caught out quite a few times. Again, if you remember the game against Real Madrid, I think, is it Mbappe that turned him inside out for the goal? I think Kusanov will get better. I do think he'll get that. You know, Man City don't really make a lot of misses. You know, they usually get a lot of their signings spot on. And I think, again, he's only young. and I think he's got potential to grow. But yeah, no, I think he's from what I've seen of him, yeah, I think he'll definitely get better. No doubt. No doubt. Um so Arsenal Pakistan cricket team says Turkish fans are going crazy. They thought Arda would get the number 10. Listen, Arda Güler is a top player and he should have got number 10. He should have really, but he was never going to get number 10 because his status at Real Madrid isn't bigger than Mbappe's. And this is why I'm trying to tell you. This is why Rodrigo has to leave because Rodrigo really and truly should have got the 10. But Mbappe's the big name now, you know. And again, Mbappe's basically taken Vinicius Jr.'s place as the big name now as well. So yeah, it was obvious that Mbappe would have got the 10. And again, Arda Güler for me has to get game time, just like I said with Endrick. You know, but yeah, it is what it is. But guys, listen up. Big up yourselves for coming through each and every time. Apologies if I haven't got through everyone's comments. You know, there's quite a lot there. But as I say, it's much appreciated you guys coming through, supporting the channel. You know, again, if you haven't subbed to the channel, guys, make sure you do at GavGoesIn. So yeah, guys, I'm on obviously YouTube, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Instagram as well at GavGoesIn. So yeah, big up Gunners fan as well. So as I said, yeah, make sure you sub to the channel. And again, if you haven't smashed that like, guys, just make sure you smash the like. We've got 17 on there at the moment. And again, smashing the like button helps the channel to be seen by more people. So again, guys, make sure you check out my other content as well. So I should be back a bit later tonight. I'm not too sure yet. I won't confirm. But as always, keep an eye out on the schedule. Make sure your notifications are on as well to see when I go live. And as I said, check out all the other content, guys. Got some good content on there. Check out my playlist as well. You know, Next Gen 50, which I'm going to get back onto. So I've got to do some pre-records for that. You know, I'll probably possibly do that sometime over the weekend. But yeah, make sure you guys check that out, guys. Yeah, some good content on there. And again, keep supporting the channel. This channel is primed to grow big. And if the fact that a lot of you keep turning up every stream, again, man, it's much appreciated. Big up to Arsenal and Pakistan cricket team. But as I said, yeah, make sure you guys check out your notification to see when I go live. Again, I should be back later tonight, but I'm not too sure yet. So if not, yeah, big up gamer, bro. Big up. If not, then definitely tomorrow. So yeah, guys, big up yourselves for coming through. And I'm going to catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.